Hello everybody and welcome to another little sit down and talk video with me today. Before we get on to the main topic, a really cool piece of news I want to share with you all. We have a new main channel sponsor. Now presently this is only for July, but if things go well they may continue to support the channel, and this is really something very big for me. It's Car Vertical, who you've seen sponsor a few videos before. They're an online car history checking service. I've used them a number of times before, but you'll see a new logo and branding coming into the channel for July. So I've worked very hard to make sure that nothing's going to be too intrusive or anything like that, and I'm really grateful to have them on board because their support means a heck of a lot to me. But today, story time. And I know you do tend to enjoy these videos, or the feedback I get tells me that you really enjoy these sort of sit down and talk videos. And I know I don't do a lot of them during the summer months, but that's because I'd rather be out there filming when I can, and then over winter I do a few more. But this one, for I think fairly obvious reasons, I really wanted to share with you. I've actually been trying to make this now for about a month or so, but I haven't had the time to sit down and sort of get this out there. So let's wind back the clock, I suppose, about 15 or 16 years. And I'm sure many of you will remember when the episode of Top Gear came out where Jeremy Clarkson tried to get a diesel Jaguar around the Nürburgring. And for much of the world, this is our first introduction to a crazy German lady called Sabine, we very unfortunately recently lost. Well, when that episode came out, I, like many others, watched it. I was in my early teens, so of course Top Gear was one of the most important social events on my calendar. So I watched that and thought it was a brilliant episode. And then I can't remember whether it was then or the subsequent episode, the following series, where she drove a transit van around the ring and attempted to beat Jeremy's time. But I realised that she did something called the ring taxi. Now, I was studying German in school at the time, and I'd actually begun to sort of really develop a fondness for Germany and the German people. I think they're really cool and greatly underrated and misunderstood. But I loved the place. I'd actually been to the Nurburgring before with my German exchange family. They lived sort of not too far away, so I'd seen the track, and it was, of course, this sort of great automotive mecca. And I found out about this ring taxi, and you could get in a car and go around the ring. Very complicated to try and get a ticket for it. As you may remember, the internet in 2004-05 was very different to how it is now. Not really, a young internet. It already developed a bit, but this website was so complicated, it was confusing. They only sold tickets at certain times of year. They only had a certain number of them, and they were quite expensive. It was 180 euros, which is the best part of 180 quid, to get a ticket to go and do the ring taxi. But I managed to persevere, and I got one of these tickets. Well, my mum bought me one anyway. So I hatched a plan. My school friend Henry and I were going to go over to Germany, do the ring taxi, and come back in a day. We were both, I think he was 15 or 16, and I was about 16 at the time. So we had this great idea, and it didn't seem that unreasonable because we lived fairly near Stansted Airport. We could get there, get a flight over. That doesn't take very long. You get to Bonn Cologne Airport, get a taxi to the Nürburgring, do the lap, taxi back, and then spend a little bit of time in Bonn, which is a place that I really like. Or did we go to Cologne? Might have gone to Cologne. And then back to the airport and home. All seemed nice and easy. Unfortunately, the day before, some sort of scamps, let's call them, tried to blow up an airplane using some material they'd sort of got in some bottles. So this was the birth of the no liquids at airport thing. So all of a sudden, there's new rules for airport security the day that we are going to go out there. All of a sudden, our bright idea doesn't seem so clever anymore. But we thought, right, let's persevere. Let's just try and make it happen. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So we got to Stansted Airport. Now, if you know Stansted Airport, back then, I believe you could actually drive up and sort of drop people off right outside the airport. Sometimes they allow that, sometimes they don't. They can never make their mind up. But we got there, and the queue for security that day stretched from the door to security to the front of the airport, and it went all the way down the side of the airport. The minute we got there, we looked at it and just went, we're screwed. We're absolutely screwed. Henry, for some reason, had brought with him a Zippo lighter. which of course had liquid in it, and lighters I think just aren't allowed on planes anyway. So we had to find somewhere at Stansted where you could leave stuff, you know, for a fee and then pick it up later. So he paid £35, I think, to have his £50 lighter looked after by a man for about 12 hours. That was the theory. We get in this queue for security, we go through, we get on the plane in time, no problem. I think we flew with German Wings, an airline that I used at the time quite a bit, and I really quite liked, because they normally give you a little bag of sweeties or some mints or something when you finish, and I use them all the time for the exchanges and all that sort of stuff. So we got out there, we get in this taxi that we'd pre-booked, and we get him to drop us off at the Nürburgring. This is where the problems began, because I knew already, of course, how big the Nürburgring was, but I'd made this assumption that sort of everything was kind of in the same place. So I got dropped off at where the Nürburgring Museum was, because I thought that's where the laps would be. So we get dropped off there, taxi goes off, I walk in, I'm like, hello, in my rubbishy German, you know, I'm here for the ring taxi. And they said, oh, no, that's not here. And that's at the entrance, you know, where you do all the bits. And now I know where it is, but I didn't back then. And I go, right. And then, of course, I realised, well, the Nürburgring is, 13 and a bit miles long? So we're potentially quite far away from where we need to be. And we've got less than an hour to be there. You know, this is Germany. We don't be late, otherwise we miss our ticket. So I thought, right, okay, blimey. Let's work this out. We got a brief map, and they're like, right, so basically you've got to go out down here. So we walk on sort of just outside the Nürburgring, which is essentially a motorway. There's us two sort of 15, 16-year-old lads walking down the road. We then take a left, and we're like, she did say you take a left. We walk up, and there's a road, and we get to the T-junction of this road. We sat there, and we're going, did you remember which way she said to go now? And he's like, mate, I don't speak German at all. And I was like, well, I do, but I sort of wasn't listening. So we sat there and we're like, and this 911 GT3 goes past. Like, Then another GT3 goes past. Then a couple of M3s go past. And we're like, you know what? Let's make an educated guess. Let's follow them. So we walk down this road. We walk down. And eventually we find the entrance to this place, and the ring taxi office is there. And back then, they were doing it in the old V10 M5. But at this point, of course, we had no idea who our driver was going to be. We'd hoped, of course, that it would be Sabine, but we didn't know. So we get there just in time. Whew, thank goodness for that. And we get there and say to the lady, yep, cool, this is us. We got our ticket, check in. And she's like, yep, cool, great. And I said to her, who's our driver for the day? And she says, it's Sabine. Yes. Brilliant, excellent. That's exactly what we wanted. We're so happy about this. And she said, by the way, did you want to sell your spare space? Because we bought a ticket, and the ticket covers you for the car. Now, you've got your driver, and then you've got 3 passenger seats. So we paid €180, and that gets us the 3 passenger seats, but there are only the 2 of us. So I said, yeah, sure. And she says, well, how much do you want for it? And I said, well, €60. Like, it's €180 for the 3 seats, so €60 for 1 seat. I know, it seemed obvious to me. And she says, are you sure? And I said, yeah, no, absolutely. And she says, oh, it's very kind of you. You know, most people try and ask like €100 or something. I said, no. So there's this Swedish guy had been waiting for a spare seat in a car. So we sold the ticket the spare seat to him. So he's really happy. There's this random Swedish guy, so happy he's going to go in the ring taxi. We get shepherded out. I'd bought this like weird cheap BMW shirt off eBay that I still have hidden away somewhere. And I had that, and I brought a pen with me. Because at that time, you see, I know Sabine was already a sort of fairly local legend, but at that time she'd begun being this sort of celebrity. So for all the British people were absolutely fascinated by her. So anyway, she rocks up in this car, and I sit in the car, and and she's all business, she's really friendly, really nice, smiles, and we buckle in, and the next, I guess it's nearly 10 minutes or so, was just unbelievable. unbelievable. I know everybody that's been out to the ring and seen her driving, or was lucky enough to do the ring taxi or RSR or something with her, I'm sure will confirm this, but she is the most incredible driver. Absolutely spectacular. We went up following, I think it probably would have been a 996 at the time, GT3 RS. And she got bored, so just started power sliding this car. So you're talking a big M5 with 4 people in it, following a 996 GT3, and she's bored, sliding through these bends. Just sensational. That was really my first experience, I think, of what a car can actually do. You know, I've been out in people driving cars, and I've been out in people driving cars quickly, but I'd never been out in a car that felt like it was really going faster than I thought it was physically capable of going. And it was the most wonderful thing. So we did that. We come back in, and then I said to her, would you mind signing my shirt? And she did, and I've still got the shirt somewhere, and I desperately need to find it because I'm going to frame it. So we'd done that. We were so happy. We met the legend that was Sabine, and it was a great experience, a great day. But that wasn't the end of the journey for us, because we had to then get home. And at the time, the whole rule about liquids in your bag and stuff like that was only one way. It was only Britain that had adopted it. The rest of Europe hadn't yet. So we went into, I'm pretty sure it was Bonn. We went into Bonn anyway and went and bought some beers, because my friend was fascinated by the fact that, you know, we were old enough in Germany to buy beers, or old enough anyway that the off licensers didn't ask us, you know, for our age. We went and bought a load of this local brew called Kölsch, which is the thing you get in the Cologne area. My family liked it. I don't drink, but my family liked it, so I'd always bring some home. I had my big camera backpack with me. I had no cameras on me, so there's unfortunately no photographs of the day. But we filled this with probably at least a dozen bottles of beer. So we'd got our taxi back to Bonn, that's how we got there, and then we get the train to the airport from there. And I'm walking through the airport with sounding like a milk float, with my backpack just going. And we get to security and put the backpack on the security conveyor belt X-ray thing, and it goes through. And this big, German airport security guy at the end looks at the bag and looks at me, and he's like, in German, is this your bag? And I'm like, yeah. And so he's like, yeah, come here. So he opens the bag up, takes this bottle out, looks at it, and then goes, lokal, gut. Puts it back in. Hands me the backpack. Luckily, we'd bought the right beers. I don't know what would happen if we'd had a sort of, crate full of Belgian stuff. But, he approved. He was happy that we bought the right beers. And we managed to get back on our flight, back home in time for tea and crumpets and everything else. And, that was my memory of meeting Sabine. It was an entertaining day, to say the least. We didn't think it was going to work. It was probably a stupid idea in the first place to even try it, but we didn't really realise that, being 16 at the time. And I just thought it would be a nice opportunity to share my memory of that with you all. So bit of a short, different video from me today, but hope you've enjoyed it nonetheless. Bye bye.